Welcome back to Discuss Hawkeye, everybody. As always, my name is Nick. I'm joined by my co-host Jace, and we did recap and review podcasts for the entire series of Hawkeye. We have a very, very special episode for you guys here where we're going to be talking with the LARPers, the Warriors of Deepdale, whatever you guys want to call them. They are here. We've got Adetinpo Thomas, Walker Branchaud, and Adelle Drahos here. So welcome in, guys. How you doing?
That was nice. That was a nice first pass. We've got some tricky names, and I feel like you mostly pronounced them all right.
Yeah, I try.
Come on.
I'm from New Orleans, so I'm from New Orleans, so that Branchaud, it sounds, it's very like, I don't know if it's French or Cajun, but we have a lot of names like that there.
French Canadian, so you rocked it.
Yeah, cool. But how are you guys doing today?
Good.
Yeah, nice.
My dog is going crazy. Forgive me if that becomes a problem.
Oh, no problem. Yeah, I love dogs. If any of your dogs come in, it'll be added bonus points for all you guys. But Jace and I are going to kind of go through some questions we have written out here, and it'll kind of just be an open discussion format and stuff too. So Jace, let's see. Yeah, do you want to go ahead and start with any of the stuff that you have over there? Go ahead and get one.
Yeah, I was really interested that you guys clearly have this displayed camaraderie that just comes through and bleeds through as far as on screen. And I've gotten a chance to go ahead and see you guys do a group interview before together. And it just seems like there's a very good camaraderie there. And I wanted to kind of get a little bit of insight maybe as to what it was like filming on set together as far as to get to know each other over that course of time and the friendship that it blossomed into. And then also, did you get a chance to like hang out at all before you started filming, or was it you just showed up on set one day and it was like, I hope I got good coworkers?
Well, Adetinpo and I knew each other very well before we started on the show, so that was cool. So that was pretty easy. I feel like Adelle,
I knew of both of you.
Yeah.
I knew of both of you before I went on.
We're all local to Atlanta, which I think is an important point to make. So the community here for acting is like big, but it's also small. So you see people all the time, or you know someone who knows someone. Since we've done Hawkeye, I've had like 4 different people come up to me and go, "You're friends with Adelle? I know Adelle." And like they're like in to talk about this show. And I'm like, yeah, it's dope. Let's do it. But Rob's right. We met a couple of years ago. Rob has a taping studio here in Atlanta, which is a lovely place to go tape. The guys are great. And then I know Adelle's roommate. And through that, it was kind of like an immediate, like, okay, you're cool by association. So all good. And then we met Clayton on set for the first time. At least I met him for the first time, our first day. Oh, okay. And he's just hilarious and like a really easygoing guy. So it makes it really simple.
Yeah, I know he's been in Atlanta for a long time doing stand up there and stuff. So I don't know if the acting is necessarily something that he got into recently or not. But yeah, that makes sense that you guys met him on set.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know if in regards to acting, a lot of our job is more sitting around and doing absolutely nothing. Like literally most of the day we're just hanging out waiting to work. So I think that also feeds to the connection that we had, because we were just shooting the shit waiting to go back to set a lot. And we started, January was the first time we started working with each other, and then we finished in March. So it was several months of us doing that. So awesome. And that definitely helped too.
Do you almost feel like an obligation to stay in touch with each other? Like, I know there's been times where I worked with people for years, and then all of a sudden they kind of fall out of touch with them.
I was like, no way.
I feel no obligation. It was what was nice also for us, in addition to like, hey, we're a group and we want this to work, so we're all going to make it work. We all liked Marvel, and so we got to mutually geek out over like what was happening in Hawkeye, what we've pieced together, what was happening in WandaVision, because we were watching that weekly as and geeking out in like theories. So that really helped, I think, draw us in, as well as just a mutual love for the project that we were involved with.
Absolutely. So my question I had was, we've all heard rumors and stories about Kevin Feige and Marvel and all that stuff. about how like if talent involved with the show says a wrong thing or like something happens, there's like a blow dart that comes out from side screen and they just get
everybody
dragged
literally
away.
uses the dart.
Or like I imagine his scripts are like Mission Impossible where you would read it and it's like this side will self-destruct in 3 seconds or whatever, you know, and it's just kind of like it's like learn it and just burn it, you know.
You're asking the wrong people. We didn't get any scripts.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
We only got the pages we were on. There was actually a day where Adelle and I like cheated the system, and I went over to her house, and pages that I was on that she wasn't, she read, and pages that she was on that I wasn't, I got to read. Yeah. But like we only got our pages, and they were like through a website, like password protected.
So yeah, that kind of feeds in my question. Are they as strict and secretive with information as they seem? And also, is it like way more than other projects that you've been on where you're like, wow, they're way more tight with stuff than other projects?
Yeah.
And I'll go ahead and start with Rob, I guess, and then we can keep going.
Yes, they're definitely secretive. It was so the projects that I've worked on, American Horror Story, back in a few years back, they actually didn't even email sides. You had to go to the office to pick up sides when I was working on that, and they gave them in all my sides were in red. Yeah, you can't copy red. So sure, that was my first experience of like, oh, this is pretty hardcore. And then Walking Dead was just like Marvel. They use the same exact app that you have to like create an account, get a password, and then like do the double authenticator, like to get in to that. And the same thing. They won't send you all the sides. So yeah, it was pretty secretive. And then there's definitely like I mean, like on set there, you're it's not like other people are just yapping about what's going on, you know, like they all know the deal. So it's
kind of focused on what you're doing in the moment, and that's it, you know.
Stay in your lane.
Awesome. Was that your guys' experience too, as far as with other projects? It seemed like it was tight. It was like a lot more close to the vest, I guess, than some of the other stuff you've worked on.
I feel like the stakes are a lot higher with this one. Like I've had to do the same thing, signing NDAs. I mean, we often have to sign NDAs just for auditions, just to get that paperwork so we can audition. But this was one where I took a picture on our last day of Clayton and Jeremy when Clayton's in the Ronin suit. And, you know, and I'm like, it's our last day. They can't fire me. And I'm like taking all these pictures. And it was honestly a lot of the only photos we got to have because our phones were always so far away. Yeah. But even then, after being a kind of established as the LARPers, we had superhero costumes at this point. Trin, who was one of the executive producers, was like super invested in us being a part of the show. On the way back to holding, somebody from Marvel Security came up to me and they were like, you cannot post that picture until the show airs.
I'm glad you said as a person. I imagined a drone came out somewhere and took your phone away from you or something like that. That's how I pictured it.
Real life Ultron coming up.
Yeah.
We did one of the scenes that actually got cut. It was Adetinpo and myself. We shot on location as an exterior shot, and there was extensive Marvel security on set type deal, like vests type, you know, like legitimate like bulletproof vests.
Oh my god,
type thing. And they were super aware the entire shoot that because we were in the middle of Midtown, so there's a lot of high-rise buildings, and there was people like in the windows trying to take pictures of us. So anytime, like we were in a fully encased exterior tent, and then when we were leaving the tent, we were all like shrouded with long, like shoulder to toe jackets, and they had umbrellas too that, you know, they would kind of like try to block certain angles. So they took it. Yeah, they're super serious about trying to like squash any rumor or any leak to come out ahead of time. Just because the fandom is so into it.
Yeah, rightfully so, because it's so kind of spoiler driven, you know, where it's like you can't, if you know, certain plot points, especially the way people read into that stuff so meticulously now. I appreciate going that extra mile to kind of keep that stuff as. I wonder though, just kind of feeding off that too. I wonder. And this is kind of just for acting in general, but how hard it is, especially when you do something as kind of life-changing and big as being part of the MCU, which now you guys have your MCU cards and your wallets and stuff now, but you're part of the MCU, how hard it is to kind of keep that keep that completely like silent, or not that you're in it, but like any of the plot points or any of the stuff you did or that experience completely silent up until it airs? Like, is it just super hard to do that? Or are you like now kind of attuned to it now that you've been doing that job for however long?
I really honored the secrecy. Not just because of the stakes, but a lot of people who were closest to me are also Marvel fans, so they didn't want the spoilers. My partner absolutely didn't want to hear anything about the plot, anything that was going on. There are certain pictures that he was like, I don't want to see anything until it's up and it's out. Otherwise, I kind of just told people like, there's a show that there might be, and I might be doing a thing. But I tell my mom, my African mom, and she, oh, okay, that's nice. And my like brother and sister were supportive, but I didn't tell too many people about anything, to be honest. And I think mostly just because people understand that like, hey, I'm working on a thing. And the moment you're initially vague, they know to just stop asking questions because you can't say anything, and they try to be nice about it. At least my friends.
Cool. Yeah. That's awesome.
It wasn't, I don't know. I like having the secret. I guess I'm like, ooh, I know something you don't. Honestly, there's not a whole lot of like major plot points, I think, that I could have spoiled even if I wanted to, because I don't, like I said, we spent the entire show trying to piece together the show. Even if only for like our characters' sakes. I mean, I would tell, I have, my 3 close friends who I knew, like, they're in the industry, they know tight lip, but it allowed me to like geek out and fangirl with them. And that was nice. But then, once it started rolling out, it wasn't really until the premiere when I had like posted, that a premiere photo that pretty much the rest of the rest of my friendship circle was like, oh, either like, oh, that's the thing that you said you were working on that I had no concept of, or how did I not remotely know what? So like, I played volleyball all through the summer with one friend who I see regularly, and she's like, how did you not tell me? I was like, I don't know. I never put it in writing, for starters. I never once would put anything remotely related to it in writing. So it's like, if I don't see you and it's not word of mouth, like, it's not going to happen. But no, I think it's fun having the secret, because eventually you will get to tell people, and it'll be a lot of fun. And it's like the gift that kind of keeps giving. You get to work, and then you have a down period, and then you get the excitement of getting to see it now and getting to share your work. So
it's a cool way to put it. The gift that keeps giving. I like that.
Yeah, that kind of
your guys. Oh, I'm sorry. I was just since we're already on the point.
Yeah,
so
go ahead.
What's going through your head when you have, Robert, you were mentioning about the being draped in like a big cloak and stuff, head to toe, and the umbrellas and everything. I don't know. I mean, is it just kind of like, whatever? It's just get me to the next thing so I can keep filming, or is it like what is going on? Where am I right now? Oh,
this is the coolest job I've ever worked.
Period.
Like, there's nothing, and I've like worked on some really cool stuff, but this stands out. There's never a moment that I was sick of it. Like maybe you put me in 10 years from now, and then it might like the appeal of that might rub off. But like, nah, every day go on the set, I was excited to go to work. I was excited to see what we're doing that day. Who knew was going to be there, what cool new thing we would get to do. Like, it's and also, I mean, it's just when they're covering you up and you see that you're like, you're in the environment with these people, it's more of just like, it makes it all that more real. You're part of it. You're sitting and go like, oh, they're trying to make sure fans don't see us right now.
Right.
And so like, it's just a cool, like, sobering moment to just sit back and so no, I could not. I'm not getting sick of that. Anything moving forward, it's just like a cool experience, and grateful for it.
It's incredibly surreal. And it might be because I disassociate sometimes, but I'm still working on acknowledging that like this was a thing that actually happened, and like I was there and did it. Mm-hmm. Probably the most present I was through the entire process, from like being cast to now was on the red carpet. Because it was just like, wow. Oh, this is a thing. And like, I'm on this side of this thing. And like, I remember turning to Rob when we were going down and they're asking if we wanted to do interviews. And I was like, I don't know what I'm allowed to say. Like, what am I going to talk about?
That would be terrifying for me. I'd be like, oh no.
But I didn't even do it. I was like, I'm not doing any of
it. Oh yeah, I didn't do it either. But
what I'll skip that line.
What was definitely the coolest was when we got to the place where they were going to take the cast photo, and we're looking down the line of like all the people who were interviewing, and you see Haley and you see Jeremy and you see Kevin, and we're just like, oh my God, did we get to meet Kevin? Did we get to meet? And he walked up to us and was excited to meet us. And it was the most bizarre experience of my life.
And imagine watching it the same too.
Mm-hmm.
Like seeing it, like, because me and Jace talked about that too. Like being on YouTube, like you kind of get used to kind of seeing yourself or seeing yourself talking on screen or whatever on the internet or whatever. But it's such a crazy different level for you to have been watching MCU movies. All you guys are like really into it. You've been watching MCU movies and MCU TV since it started, and then you're sitting on your couch on Disney Plus and you're watching Hawkeye and you see yourself on that side of it. Like that's got to be like crazy, like mind blowing.
Oh, yes. I literally have been spending it a lot. So all the Marvel Netflix shows are going off Netflix as of February 28th. So like the last like week and a half, I watched all 3 seasons of Daredevil. And now I'm about to finish season 2 of The Punisher. And I remember like back in, I guess, what was it? 2016, 2017, like around those years, trying to get auditions for Daredevil up in New York and trying to get auditions for Punisher before like these shows were even, a thing yet. They hadn't been announced. We didn't even know that Disney Plus was coming at this scale. So yeah, to get to now fast forward and sit here and like having the build up to after you have WandaVision just knock it out of the park and Winter Soldier and then look, all these shows just did so well to then have us be like the end cap of a year and watch it week by week and having the fandom on Wednesdays. Like it was, I woke up every morning. I was like, that was the first thing I was doing Wednesday. I was like, all right, cool. So it's 8 o'clock and I'm watching Hawkeye. Like, that's what I'm doing.
Right. I have a question for Adele actually. So when we were watching the podcast, I made a hot take and I said that episode 3, I forget exactly, I think it's called Echoes. Episode 3 was directed by Bert&Bertie, and it was the best episode of MCU yet. I thought like all the TV shows, I thought that was the best episode yet. It's the one with the car chase and the pin particle arrow and stuff on the bridge. But I thought the directing overall with Rhys and Bert&Bertie was really, really top notch in the show. And as someone who's made shorts and been kind of behind the camera before, did you pick up anything watching Rhys Thomas or Bert&Bertie that you're like, oh, I'm going to use that, or I plan to kind of like incorporate that into maybe my process or whatever when you're making shorts or doing stuff like that?
Honestly, I didn't watch them a lot. I didn't watch them a lot.
Yeah.
It's COVID, right? Like we're quarantined away from people.
You're not just like hanging out at Video Village all the time. Okay. My interaction with them was directly when I was doing a scene and working as an actor, and every project is just so very different. These guys in particular did a lot of improv. We've talked a lot about that, and I personally love improv. I'd studied it very intensely for a long time. The stuff that I produce and have worked on is all, so it's a world removed from what this is.
Absolutely.
Because it's just like getting a camera and rolling with your friends and just shooting the shit basically, and hoping that you can edit it together.
Right.
So I wish I could say I learned a lot from watching them, but if I'm being perfectly honest, I learned more from my many failures of just actually trying to do it and experiment through it. I don't know, Adetinpo, you've produced a few things. If you had any thoughts on that.
Okay, yeah, actually I do. Bert&Bertie were very adamant about having work-life balance, and being able to like go home at a certain time and spend time with their kids and like give them a bath and put them to bed. And I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
Also Rhys Thomas, a lot of people don't know this, but he spent years working on SNL. So his concept of comedy is just, it's top notch. But also the chaos of working on something like that for years. He is the most mellow dude. Like the stakes are so low. Like something could be on fire and we should probably be like, we should probably do something about that.
Yeah.
So I think being able to watch his chill and watch their boundaries was really cool.
Yeah, oh, go ahead.
I say it was interesting too with being able to chat with them. We talk about us trying to piece together the story and things, and even Rhys would talk about how he would have ideas for something, and the upper ups might be like, no, don't go there with that or whatever, and he's just like, he finally was like, I realized I had to trust the Marvel conglomerate and just trust that they know, and I do what I do, and beyond that, they'll tell me to stay in my lane, and that's what ultimately makes it work. On the flip side, they are also open to a lot of ideas. So that car chase scene that you were talking about, I was asking the Berts about what was one of their favorite moments throughout the production, and they were like, it was that car chase. They saw that done in a previous production, and they were like, it would be really cool. We really want to do this 360 spinning while all this action's happening. And they're like, hey, Kevin and team, could we maybe try this? We'd like to, if you're open. And they're like, yeah, let's give it a shot. We'll see if it works. And if not, we won't use it. And that's a lot of how Marvel does work, is they're like, well, let's try it. We're not burning film here. Let's do it and see what happens. And I think that's what allows it to have such good moments, because a lot of them are just very raw experience, just very character driven, because it is all through improv, and it's all through, well, let's try it and see what happens. So that's fun.
And those tend to be like the best moments of the show, is when you have those serendipitous kind of like, let's try this thing and give it a shot. It tends to always work out, because that was like one of my favorite parts of the show, was that car chase and the 360 camera and all that kind of the oneer and stuff was awesome.
Bob, you're a filmmaker. What about you?
No, I didn't really learn anything. I think like TV directors or managers, that's what their job is.
Yeah, I also forgot that you guys were so compartmentalized because of the COVID and stuff too. So it really wasn't kind of a normal shoot like it would have been before that. So yeah.
Well, like I think you work on a film versus a TV show. It's a way different relationship when it comes to the directors.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to do a lot of things in a short period of time. So your time with maybe discussing something with the director is a little bit less on a TV show typically than it would be with a film.
Yeah.
Bert&Bertie and Rhys they were super accessible. But even with that being said, like there wasn't much that I could pull from in regards to learning outside of just like watching how they interacted with the other people, and trying to like take notes here and there, like just mental notes. But I echo a lot of what they said. I feel like we worked at a more extensive level with Rhys than we did with Bert&Bertie, and I admired that you could throw something at him and pull him aside and talk, and he would just be like, yeah, all right, let's try that. And that was it. There didn't need to be a discussion. You didn't need to like sell him on the idea of why it would work. It's more of like, yeah, we hired you. You got the instincts. Let's try this, and if it didn't work, they would just go back and change it type of deal. But a lot of times too, is like when we were riffing and throwing like ad-libbing lines, like he would just come up and like whisper in my ears, like, all right, maybe keep pushing that. That was funny. Hit that. Try a new one this time. And like we would literally, just each line would be just a different improv throwaway. And he was cool with that. And that was just empowering in the moment to know that they like me. They really like me, kind of thing. Just, that gives you the confidence just to run with it.
Rhys did a lot of tossing in last lines, like the LARP battle. Before you cut to that scene, I had a whole scripted monologue that I did, and then Rhys would be like, hey, all right, now walk over to Clay and break his chains. And then I'm like, okay. Hey, after you, on this take, after you break the chains, go over to Jeremy and offer him the potion and say this line. So, okay, hey, when you say this line, so it's like every day he was adding more and more. And what ended up sticking was the stuff that he added. So all the potion bit, that was Rhys threw that at me like that wasn't scripted or anything. He was just throwing that on. Hey, try this.
Yeah, and I think me and Jace, we both had a sneaking suspicion that that's what happened with the sound effect stuff, Rob, right? Was that kind of, it would be baffling to me to hear that was on the page, right?
No, I improv that.
Okay, yeah.
I've said this in the other news. In that episode, I had no dialogue at all.
Oh, okay.
So everything that I ended up doing was just improv. So like Rhys gave her the line about the potion. When I was like, he didn't drink the potion.
Yeah.
That was it. It was just like, I was just trying to run with, hey, what's something funny, and just trying to roll with the punches as other people were giving me something to feed in, because it's such a high energy scene. Yeah. And that was gonna be the first episode that we were introduced in. So as like actor me, I'm more going like, all right, well, I want to say something here, so let me find my moments to sneak in. And I'll tell you that my inspiration in the moment for the clang and the sound effects was from Monty Python and the Holy Grail. It was just the horses, like them clapping the coconut shells together.
Yeah. I think you have a feature in Foley, Rob, if you ever want to.
Yeah.
And actually, that's a really great scene to reference too, because you also can talk about the things that don't make it in. I also didn't have lines in episode 2. And I think you saw a glimpse of my face and a glimpse of my face a second time. But when we were actually doing it, there was a point where Grills had won. We were like, yes. But then there was like a good 30 seconds more of just like, for Deepdale, our victory. This is for us. Burn the body. And then Jeremy, because of the burn the body line that Adelle improv, we later filmed a scene where we pretended to be fire around his body. Like, it didn't make it into the ultimate cut, but it was still hilarious and made the day fun. So they really do let us play.
I tried to sneak in one line that I was bummed that didn't make it in, and it was part of the celebration after Grills beats Hawkeye. There's this explosion of energy, and in one of the takes, I threw up a huge Johnny Drama victory from Entourage, and I was so hoping it was to make the final cut, and unfortunately did not.
No. Yeah, right at the end of that sequence too, I saw Clayton was about to do the LeBron James celebration after he beat Hawkeye.
Yeah,
yep.
But
he dropped it.
I know he cut it right as he was doing it. And I was like, oh, he was doing the LeBron James. That was hilarious. I thought that was really fun.
That scene kept going. Burn the Body was another one that Rhys gave me last minute. That he was like, hey, we're gonna say this. I'm like, okay.
That whole scene was hilarious. Yeah.
Burn the corpse.
And Jeremy's reaction to that line, like when it says burn the body, he's just like, oh my gosh, what did I get myself into? Like, all together, that came together so well.
His disappointment in us was probably some of the funniest parts of the show. When we come out in episode 6 in our superhero costumes, we've paused in the middle of all this drama and turmoil to go put on leather outfits that were handmade by our friend. And because I didn't know this line existed because we weren't on that page, but when it cuts to him and he's like, we're all gonna die.
Yeah.
Like I just sat at home and giggled because it was such a great moment.
Which, by the way, you guys coming out in those costumes in that scene, first of all, just one of the most epic moments of the show. And it could not have been better executed just because it was already an epic introduction. But then when it's like, all right, we ready? Let's do this. Okay. All right, everyone this way. Just goes into like just some regular stuff. Priceless, absolutely priceless.
Thanks.
Yeah. Me and so we have to ask Adetinpo. Me and Jace are puzzled. We're puzzled about this. Jace, you want to ask her about the bag?
Yeah, man. Okay, so I love how there's an instant reaction. She's like, "This ain't the first time I've heard about this." So obviously, you're aware of a specific bag that seemed to be very sentimental to your character and was highlighted specifically in a scene that, unfortunately, we didn't get really much of a payoff. It seems. So, do you know by chance, like, what happened to the bag? Is it okay? Was there something that didn't make the final cut?
Between the 5 of us, actually the entire storyline, the arc of season 2 is them trying to help me. I'm just kidding. Help me get the bag back. No. There was a scene in episode 6, Rob, if I'm not mistaken, where Jeremy hands Rob a bunch of stuff. And it's the bags that we end up coming out with later to give to Haley. But he's like, oh, and give Wendy her bag back. But I think that line got cut. So as far as canon goes, it was never retrieved. And my wife's
in the multiverse. There's probably some
season
kind of
2.
like, there's exactly. Yeah, it's going to be a thread for season 2, which is going to be amazing. I did have another, let me see. I had another, you guys answered a lot of my questions, like for Robert about sound effect stuff being improv and how much freedom you guys got in that scene. Because a lot of it seems so off the cuff. But for Adetinpo, in Hawkeye, we got our first instances of characters from the Netflix Marvel shows that were incorporated into the MCU with Kingpin and stuff. As someone who is also in the DC Arrowverse, what do you think of the odds that some of those beloved characters get folded into the DCEU? And if so, which of those like Arrowverse kind of characters do you think would be really cool to be like bring over, like those characters
into the movies?
Mm-hmm.
I really liked Chantal Twee's character in Black Lightning. She like morphed into animals and other people. She was like shapeshifter.
Yeah.
I would love to see that in like one of the Justice League's movies, but also because there are the different worlds and the different planets in Supergirl, I want to say there's Jimmy Olsen. And then, of course, I was Jamila Olsen on Black Lightning. So maybe if there's a world where we meet each other and have like a crime fighting, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. That'd be pretty cool.
I think that could be fun. But I think there's a lot. I'm curious about what DC is doing and how they plan on moving forward with tone, because I feel like they've still been trying to find their footing with that. So the shows kind of vary extremely as well. So
yeah. It's either Zack Snyder, or CW. It's like such a gulf between like tonally. Yeah, I can totally.
The Zack Snyder just kind of opened it up of all the CW
shows.
True,
yeah.
Well, we got a very brief snippet of it because Nick, you and I were mentioning about I couldn't help but sneak in when he brought up about the prospect of this question. I was like, well, they did have the Flash meet the Flash. Like Ezra Miller did get a chance to meet Grant Gustin in one of their epic crossovers. And it was actually kind of cool because like Grant Gustin gives Ezra Miller's Flash the name. He's like, are you also the Flash? He's like, the Flash. The Flash. And I was like, did they just make that happen? That the show?
I mean,
so there's hope for a
Jamila. And the universes collide, right?
Exactly.
So
it's always hope for a Jamila Jimmy team up show or movie. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Speaking of Spider-Man, do you guys happen to know is Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire in there? No way.
He's not.
All right, look, Jace. When we stop recording, I got you.
Okay.
I got some secrets to tell you.
Keep it under wraps. Keep it under wraps in here. Let's see.
I actually thought, Nick, you're gonna ask how I found you guys.
I wanted to ask.
Jace asked that a lot. I felt it came off like insecure. I must be like, how did you even see like our stuff? Like, what do you think?
I told him from the moment that this even started, I was like, bro, the first thing I'm gonna ask is how did you find us?
No, that's interesting. How did you come across the pod?
I looked up all the Hawkeye podcasts and like commentary shows. We were talking about as LARPers wanting to be able to like engage with the fandom and talk to the people who are talking about the shows, because we love talking about Marvel, we love talking about the show and our work as actors and stuff. So I like went on the hunt and I was like, oh, these guys seem legit. Let me shoot my shot and send an email.
Yeah. No, I'm so glad you did.
Yeah, I'm glad I did too.
Yeah. Because it's funny, and that makes total sense too, because all of you guys are pretty well versed in Marvel stuff as well. Like, I don't know if you guys have seen like when Harrison Ford talks about Star Wars and he's just like, I don't care, like I don't want to have any stuff to do with it. Like,
interviews.
I know it's amazing. But yeah, no, it makes sense that you guys, because you guys are also like, you guys can go into the weeds when they ask about like all these like really random off-topic stuff, which is really fun.
Yeah, like
we're pretty cool.
I saw you going into the multiverse of madness discussion in another interview, and I was like, oh boy. And I was like, if we start treading into those murky waters in this one, we're going to go on for way longer than we need to.
Absolutely.
But I love have to bring us back for another episode is all. What made you guys start the Discuss Hawkeye? Like, how did this all get started?
I personally, I had a feeling it was probably going to be my favorite because Hawkeye's the most grounded. I tend to like, I felt like it was really good for like, emotional stakes on a lower level for Marvel, and I tend to really like those shows. I like kind of like Falcon and Winter Soldier a lot as well, where the stakes are a lot kind of dialed in, a lot more dialed in and stuff. So I had a feeling I was going to really enjoy the show. I also thought it was going to be really fun because it was during Christmas. So if you guys have ever watched or listened to the show, we partake in Christmas traditions while we were doing the show, along with each episode that we were doing. So we were doing different Christmas traditions for it as well. So I thought those two things coalescing made for a really fun show, and pick that one here. And I brought Jason because he's really knowledgeable about the Marvel stuff. So I was like, oh, okay, well, he can kind of like, I mean, I'm more of a, I wouldn't say casual fan, but I'm not as like in depth with comic history and all that kind of stuff regarding it. So I wanted to bring in somebody that kind of counteracted that.
Nice.
So I just got lucky enough to be chosen for the ride.
Yeah. But I did have one more specific question for Adetinpo, and then I think we had some that were kind of for everybody too. But I had also read, I think I read in an article that you also worked on the set of Loki before you did this as a PA. Did your experience working on that set and kind of, because that's another high profile big Marvel show or movie or show. Did that experience kind of inform what like your, or give you insights on what to expect on set when you were doing Hawkeye? Like, was there anything, was it like completely different, or did you feel like it kind of gave you a basis of like, oh, this is what the shoots are going to maybe look like or feel like?
That's a good question. I feel like from the perspective is completely different being an actor on set versus being a PA. And then on top of being a PA, I was doing health and safety, which was like never existed before. And it was one of the first things to come back. So people were pretty aggro about having to like stay far apart from each other and wear a mask for 15 hours, which is understandable. Exactly. So it was all kind of unprecedented. What I loved, it was a masterclass in acting for me, watching Tom perform, because one, he's super giving as a human and then also as an actor, and he can memorize, like if you asked him to memorize like the first 5 letters of the dictionary, not the dictionary, I was gonna say the phone book, but the dictionary, he could do it. So to see him do that was really cool. I think though, also outside of the scope of it being Marvel and knowing how secretive things were, it was very different too, because Loki was very much the fantasy part of the MCU that you get, where we're not even in reality most of the series, and they're like jumping back out from the TVA into regular life. So to do that, or to watch that rather, and then to end up on Hawkeye, where it's, we're dealing with PTSD and family traditions. Like, it was very much a huge. I
loved it. Yeah, I loved how kind of dialed in it was. That was like my favorite thing about the show. This one's kind of for everybody. So obviously the MCU is the most influential media, one of the most influential media powerhouses. It's got these giant shows and movies filled with the greatest actors and talent working today. With that being said, I have to know, what was it like acting opposite Lucky the Pizza Dog? Does he like tummy rubs? Like, how does he handle paparazzi? Like, what do you give us the deets? What do you guys know? Because he was in the scene where you guys met Haley, right? Where she comes to get the thing, right? Is there any Lucky the Pizza Dog lore that we can dispel here, or anything?
Adelle had more experience than me. I'm gonna throw this one to Adelle.
Honestly, I didn't go out of my way to be like, don't get me wrong, I love animals. I start and end my day watching dodo videos. But I didn't go out of my way to be like, oh, puppy, let me pet him, because Lucky still kind of a younger-ish pup. And had a job, and there's a lot of distractions happening. True. And I didn't want to pull him.
Yeah, I think, I don't know.
Someone like a buddy of mine follows this dog on Instagram, and I guess it's a her.
It's a her. It's a her. It is a her. Yeah, her name is Jolt. The actual.
Oh, okay, cool.
That's what it is. Okay.
Her name is Jolt. She's like a smaller golden retriever. She was not like a big golden retriever. She's like kind of a medium to smaller sized one. But yeah, I didn't. So I didn't go out of my way to try to interact with her, because there was an energy there, It's just like, okay, let the dog do it.
She's got like a diva energy, right? Like,
I didn't want to get like that hyped up, she was actually in the apartment scene, and there's a fun little bit, because they're always rolling cameras in this. After Haley and Jeremy leave, And, you know, there were a couple of, they would improvise when we were on the other three, Clayton, Adetinpo, and Rob, and then they would flip camera when they were on me. It was just one take that was so good. And I'm like, hey, your dog, okay, yeah, we'll watch your dog for you. And I just like looked down and was like, how would you like to be a dragon of Deepdale? And like, you just like, huh? You know, like that cute like head cock. So I did get to like pet her a little bit there, but again, she was just like, I was like, just stay in your corner, lay down. I don't want you to get too energetic and frantic or anything, but she's a very well-behaved pup. Yeah, super sweet. But yeah, I did not love on her as much as I would have loved to.
Oh, well, there's always next season.
Right.
Me and Jace also wanted to know, is she method? Did she hold the wink down for the eye, or is it digitally added, or what? Like, is it?
I don't know. Can we say that? Are we allowed to?
I don't know. Yeah.
You can't. It's totally CGI.
Okay.
I mean, cool. I was shocked. I was like, when I saw the trailer come out and she has a wink eye, and I was like, is that the same dog? Because she did not. She had two eyes.
Adelle was the Marvel.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Super glue.
Marvel,
super glue. Oh my god.
Super glue. At some point, Marvel released a little blurb that was kind of on LOKI, and they show you the before and after.
Oh, cool.
The CGI of the eye, which is pretty cool.
Okay.
There's so much CGI involved in this project. It's mind blowing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let me see. I had a couple of closing questions, but Jace, did you have any you wanted to get to before we wrap up?
You know, there was one, I thought this was just kind of a fun one. I saw in a different interview that you guys were talking about, like what powers you would have as individuals, right? And I thought there were some really cool and interesting choices, but instead of like making it a replicate, and I more so wanted to maybe put a spin on it, what powers do you think your character in the show of Hawkeye would have? I mean, even if it is the same that you were choosing, but right, what do you think they would go with?
What's the name of, and I should know this, and it's like on the tip of my tongue. She's blue in X-Men.
Mystique.
Mm-hmm. I think Wendy would want to be Mystique because Wendy's always doing like some low-key shady shit.
Mm-hmm. I was
gonna
like,
say, I was like, go to your job.
If you want to tamper with evidence, you might as well be Mystique when you do it.
I think it'd be easier to get away with the bad stuff she does for good if she could shapeshift.
That's a perfectly logical excuse for that. I like that. All right. Good. So no pressure for the other ones now.
Also, I will say in the comics, there's an iteration where she develops a power where she can like shoot pulses of stuff as opposed to just juggling the bombs. So I don't know. Shoot bombs out of my wrists.
Nice. Very nice. Adelle, what do you think?
If we're just going with like the generic basic superpowers, I feel like for some reason Missy would like strength, like super strength. Yeah. But if you're getting a little creative with it, something that would allow her to manipulate material, like similar in the way that I think what's her face in the Eternals.
Where she changed the bus into like
Percy.
Flowers and stuff.
Yeah, something similar in the vein of that. Misty could manipulate, like change this water bottle into fabric, or you know, and she could build and
actually manifest potion in her hand. Instead of mimicking
the character from X-Men First Class? He was the black dude that had like he dies in First Class, but he's supposed to not be able to die. But he can like change his.
He adapts to things, like he's an evolutionary adaptation where he like adapts to everything.
That which is an absolutely just like
that's a pretty cool
crazy power. But that's kind of what I started thinking when you're like, that's something that I feel like that your character could do, just adapting to whatever material you kind of need to.
That's awesome.
That's a great great answer.
Yeah, I was just kind of figuring this would be a fun one, you know, just whatever, throw it out there. But those are like all legitimate choices as far as that make sense to people.
Colossus. I would do Colossus. I think Orville would want to be like just like a, you know, stationary brick shit house that's just ready to throw it down. It's not going to be going running if he doesn't have to type deal. You know, it's like just post up in a hallway and just smash Tracksuit Mafias left and right, cracking skulls.
Oh yeah. Speaking of that too, I'll go on a quick tangent there, but the scene where they get picked up by the owl. I think me and Jace joked during the podcast, right? They get picked up by the owl. I was like, that's so horrific. I was just like, they get taken away by an owl, and then they're just like, there's nothing about them anymore. And I'm just like, that's the
they're
most
still there.
That's what I'm saying. If they do like a short mini series of just like a horror mini series about them trying to escape from an owl's nest or something, it'd be amazing. But but yeah, I remember seeing that and be like, wow, that's like so dark. Like,
it was very dark.
By an owl. So to wrap up, or one of our last questions here at the Discuss, we're all about talking movies and TV. What are some shows and movies that you guys have seen recently that you really like or that inspire you?
I'll be honest. I got asked this question yesterday, so I'll start off again. And I have no problem talking about these. 1883, the sequel to Yellowstone, is absolutely captured my heart. I love it. It was written like a novel. Like Taylor Sheridan wrote it as a novel, as opposed to an episodic story. So I don't know if any of you have watched it, but each episode is narrated by one of the main characters. And it's just got this really beautiful undertone of her telling the story and narrating these moments, and that goes like over what's happening. And it's just shot really well. And it's not like your typical Western either, which I think is, like it doesn't feed into a lot of stereotypes. It more like goes against the stereotypes and gives each of the characters their own power, which is pretty cool to see. So 1883 would definitely one. Euphoria. I'm firmly entrenched in the Euphoria fandom. I love that show from top to bottom. And then Peacemaker. Peacemaker might have been, I would say it's probably in like, it's up there in regards to DC properties and just comic properties, like battling what Marvel does. In my eyes, it's just, it looks like they just trust, James to go with what he wanted to do. And he just grabbed it by the reins and wrote this just absolutely comical, masterful piece. And they hired, what I liked about it is they hired a really great staff of actors. Like each actor was just so good at their role and just like super committed. And Cena, I mean, like hats off to that dude. He had me cracking up in scenes, and like there's moments in that the vulnerability that he brought to Peacemaker's character was just like, I was just watching him going like, that's John Cena. Like that is like this is no longer Peacemaker right now. Like we are honestly watching a moment of Cena reflecting at some point of his acting career or wrestling career, that how difficult it was for him to get through something. And that's like, we're watching him be absolutely brutally honest with his emotions. I just that was
and that
really
intro
cool.
sequence too. Oh my gosh, the intro sequence. I never skipped it once. It's amazing.
Right.
But what about you, Adele? What have you been watching that's really inspired you? Do you think is really good?
So I've watched like the more recent things that I've watched were like White Lotus and Dope Sick. Both of them I thought were both great shows. Very, very fascinating characters. So much Atlanta talent in Dope Sick, which I always love to support stuff like that.
Yeah.
I have a personal bias towards fantasy fiction shows. So not super recent, but within the past few months, I really liked Shadow and Bone. If you just love a good classic fantasy fiction that kind of hits all the check marks. Yeah. And I'm very, very closely watching this Lord of the Rings show.
I was going to ask about that. I was going to ask if you saw the trailer and thoughts on that.
Man. All right. I think tonally it sounds like Lord of the Rings. Visually, it looks like CW made it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, HBO should have won that over Amazon, because I did watch Wheel of Time series, which Amazon made, and I did read some of those books, and they kind of went and did their own thing, which I still thought the series was good, but it's like,
it looks too clean. It looks too clean and sharp to me, where it's like, it almost looks like a music video or something. And I remember thinking, or like Lord of the Rings always had that really kind of lighter yellowish color correction. And I was like, why wouldn't they have like brought that kind of visual language into it too?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Like the Lord of the Rings trailer,
I'm concerned.
It's super CGI heavy. It's not gritty. Even the casting kind of looks like a little bit prettier in CGI, which don't get me wrong, there's some pretty people in the OG, but they all have this essence of grittiness and dirt and like
texture. Yeah.
texture.
Did you see that the credits aren't CGI though?
No, that was true. Yeah, that was pretty cool. Where they're like actually pouring the liquid and all of that.
Really
cool.
Good.
Like it has the essence, and I feel like it has it can be a very good show. I just don't know if I want to affiliate it with Lord of the Rings.
Like, you have to like separate it in your mind and be like, okay, I'm not gonna compare it. Hopefully,
that's my diehard. I have like my dad's college poster.
I've got the One Ring on right now.
I have one right across from me in my van.
Yeah, nice.
Like, yeah. So I'm just geeking out for a minute over that. I haven't seen it yet, obviously. That's I'm trying to think of like what else I just watched Power of the Dog. You know, I'm trying to like catch up on some of the Oscar ones. Power of the Dog.
My pick for Best Picture. But
it's a good character study as well.
Turned that off 45 minutes in.
It's
Did
slow.
You? Okay.
Yeah. I couldn't do it. And I love both. I love all the actors, and I just couldn't do it. I was like, nope.
3 days. Like I would sit down and eat lunch and like watch it, and then I'd stop it, go do life, and then come back the next day, watch it like a TV show to get through it.
Couldn't do it.
Music in it though was very good. The same way the
Johnny Greenwood score, is crazy in that. Yeah.
Ooh, the music in White Lotus is like a character in itself as well.
White Lotus, that was a good one.
It really was.
Very similar to like Seven Perfect Strangers, but like not. Very interesting.
What about you, Adetinpo? What have you been watching or seeing lately?
I totally got to cheat and take notes on the things that came to mind, but also I didn't feel like I adequately got to answer this yesterday. So Pen 15 on Hulu's come to an end. It is two like 30-year-old women who wrote a show about what they were like in middle school, but they play themselves. So they're like 30 and with a bunch of like 12 and 13 year olds.
It's amazing. It's really amazing. Yeah.
You very quickly forget that these are adults. But it's also really cringy because I remember being like that. So you're just like, oh, why was I like this? But they are phenomenal actresses. And I just thought I just feel like that show is amazing. We're real close to finishing it. We are watching, I say we, me and my partner, we're watching Scenes from a Marriage because Oscar Isaac and Jessica Chastain are just like powerhouses of acting. And I don't know if you guys haven't seen, I'm getting some puzzled faces.
Not Scenes from a Marriage, but I've seen Pen 15. Yeah. It's
on HBO. Every episode starts with like someone like slapping the sticks and a PA walks by in a N95 mask and like somebody does whatever and then they start it, but it ends up being probably the whole hour's two of them talking through some part of their marriage, and it's just brilliant. I, when the pandemic started, watched Dark. It's on Netflix, but it's a German show. And I'm a sucker for outer space, alien, zombie time travel. And this was like one of the best things I've ever seen that was able to do time travel in a way that made sense, but was incredibly complicated, where I would literally pause it and have to like, okay, so this is what I understood. Is that what you understood? And I thought Dark was great. And I'll wrap up with Rami on Hulu, Schitt's Creek. Because I'm late and I'm finally watching that.
I'm watching Schitt's Creek right now too.
It's so good. At first I was like, I don't know, watch these white people be sad they're poor. But then I got past the first episode and I was like, okay, this is really brilliant. Insecure, Rami, Schitt's Creek. Really sad Insecure is over, but what it did for the culture and what it did in general was just really lovely. And I appreciate in Rami how they've gotten so specific about them being Egyptian and Muslim and him trying to deal with his parents, and how that specificity becomes so universal because everybody is dealing with kind of the same shit, but because it's in that underneath those layers, it feels like it doesn't apply. People don't see themselves in those characters, but because of how honest and grounded it is, it ends up being really beautiful. So
yeah. I can co-sign Rami, Pen 15, and Dark too. I loved all those shows. Again, like especially Pen 15 and Rami. What's cool about those two is how vulnerable they are. Like they're such vulnerable shows where like the actors are going to like very raw places, it seems, or whatever. You say like cringe too, but it's just like very vulnerable time, I guess, when you're that age or whatever in Pen 15. But I thought those were awesome, great picks.
I would feel remiss if I don't mention this one too, because number one, I got to throw it to our boy Jeremy. His other show, Mayor of Kingstown, which happens to be another Taylor Sheridan show, it was really cool. Like,
yeah,
I don't know if you guys watched it. The pilot episode snagged me right off the bat. Like, there's a hook that just I didn't see coming, and I love that about I find that I can predict things pretty well just from having like a storytelling background. I usually can see things coming, and something happened in that show. I was like, what? No. So then it dragged me in, and it was just
John
really
Bernthal
cool.
in that too. Is John? I don't know if he's or not, but I know Jeremy and Taylor Sheridan worked on Wind River too, right?
Yep, Wind River as well. Which is
I really like his projects. I haven't seen Mayor of Kingstown, and I haven't seen the other one, the 1883. I think you said.
Yeah,
but I really like Taylor Sheridan stuff, so I'm sure they're great. Those are in Paramount Plus though, right? The 1883.
Both of them, yeah. Mayor of Kingstown and 1883 are on the Taylor Sheridan network, also known as Paramount Plus.
Yeah,
they just announced they have. So Yellowstone was the first. 1883 is the second. They just announced that another show will be coming. I think it's like 1922, which will be the next chapter in this story. And then they have another, the Sixes Ranch. So they have like four spinoffs coming from Yellowstone. I'm just like, how does Taylor Sheridan do it?
An extended universe. It's another extended universe.
I'm super excited.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'm super excited for Westworld to come back. I want to see how they wrap that up because it's wild.
I thought it was done. I didn't even know it was coming back.
I know, me too. I didn't even know it was doing another season.
There's one last season.
2 of Westworld altered my reality and understanding of like time. Like it literally, I had to stop and rewatch episodes over and over again because I was like, what is going on right now?
I read all the blogs. Yes.
It's one of those shows. Yeah.
Someone just come sit down and talk with me and we'll pause it because I just like, where am I? What is real? Who is this? Yeah.
Are you human? Am I human?
That reminded me.
Literally, it's like that.
1883 reminded me too. Adetinpo, the creator of Dark, is doing another Netflix show. It's called A Year. It's like 18 something or whatever. It's like 1893 or something like that. But it looks really interesting. If you look up details about that, it's going to be the same creator as Dark. They have some cast members coming back, but it's like about all these different people from different walks of life stuck on this ship or something in the 1800s or whatever. But it looks really interesting too. So I've been trying to keep my eye on that one because Dark was amazing.
Well, and what was so cool about Dark too, if you guys ever go watch it, was that because it was German, in Germany, you forget here that a lot of people with European backgrounds, they're usually like part Irish and part Polish and part Italian and part Swedish. But everybody was German. So when they cast people of different ages of the same character, they like legit looked like that could have been the grandpa, father, and son. Every single character, like of all the people that were there, it was wild because I was like, okay, but did they just cast families to be in this movie, or was it just because the German genes are strong? I don't understand.
Absolutely,
but it really sells it.
Strong genes.
It feeds that immersion though. It really does. It does like feed the immersion for you. It's like, oh wow, they do look exactly.
You don't have to suspend disbelief. You're like, nah, that might be him. I don't know.
Yeah.
Is Dark like a German Stranger Things? Because that's what I've heard a couple of people say.
Yeah,
that's
how I would describe it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a lot. It's Stranger Things, but it's like very dark.
Maybe the vibe of Stranger Things, where it's kind of eerie and it's very like.
It's very mysterious and
it's gritty.
It's got a much darker tone to it.
Yeah, but
exponentially darker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dark. Yeah,
but the story I feel like is like way different.
Maybe because as soon as you said time travel, I'm like, well, that doesn't sound like Stranger Things. So I was like, maybe someone was just feeding me a bunch of BS.
No, the vibe. I think it's a vibe check.
Yeah, and the time travel is super well thought out, and I appreciate that a lot in that show too. But that pretty much wraps it up. I really appreciate you guys for coming on. It's been a lot of fun. I hope we do it again if there's like a season 2 and we can get you back guys for a season 2. That'd be amazing. Let us know where we can find you guys online, and if you have any cool projects coming up. If any of you guys have any cool projects we can look out for.
You can find me solely on Instagram. My full name, Robert Walker Branchaud, and stay in the loop on my world travels and my race to try to change the world eventually, I guess. Mm-hmm. And that's pretty much, that's it.
Good,
that's all
good landscape photography on there.
Tons of landscapes.
Yeah. What about you, Adele?
You can find me on Instagram too, Adelle Drahos, first and last name. I have one project that's an early pre-pro. You're welcome to follow the Instagram page. It's called Half Bloods of Hila. That's HILLA. But there's only one post because we're in early pre-pro. So, you know, it's been 2 years in the making. Stay tuned and see if it takes another 2 years to happen. Hoping it doesn't.
Yeah. All right. Adetinpo. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm Adetinpo Thomas, and you can find me at Adetinpo, that's me, on Instagram and Twitter. And I have a couple shorts in the film circuit. So if you follow them on Instagram, one is Clean Slate, and the other is called The Earth Will Not Swallow Us. But you have this, it's at TEWNSU. So have fun looking for that. But
we'll have to tag that in the comments.
Yeah. Adetinpo, that's me.
I'll throw it in the description if I locate. Yeah.
Thank you.
Aren't you also real quick too? Aren't you before I head out? You are doing a project with King the Conqueror from LOKI, right? Are you in a project?
Yeah, Devotion.
Yeah, that's really cool. Jonathan Majors, I think is his name, right?
Yeah, Jonathan Majors.
Yeah, that's really cool. There's no like date on that though, right?
I don't know when it's coming out. I
okay.
think it's this year, but I don't know what they've decided.
Awesome. All right, Jace, will you have anything before we head out, or?
Nothing as cool as what all they're saying.
Nothing as cool.
I'm also now in movies and stuff.
Yeah, he's a Marvel stuff.
Yeah, I got a secret project I'm not allowed to speak about. But I wish I had something at least that brag worthy. No, I basically can say that if you want, I would greatly appreciate checking out the YouTube channel. It's the funny looking name that's in parentheses right by me. That's Berger Rokar. I got a plethora of movie reviews, skits, and just other kind of theory discussions that are on there about a wide variety of things, but mostly focusing on the Marvel, DC, and a bit of Star Wars stuff as well.
Awesome, guys. We'll definitely check out all their stuff. I'm going to try to put as much of that stuff in the description as I can for the video here. And then, just follow us on the podcast, the Discuss Hawkeye stuff. If there's a season 2, if there's any news that come out, me and Jace are definitely going to jump on it and cover it. And then just subscribe to the YouTube channel to discuss. But that's going to be about it. And we will see you guys next time.
Thanks, guys.
Peace out. Shout out Clayton. We miss you, buddy.
Yeah, shout out to Clayton. Yeah.